Dolo Dhamma Jebe Dra Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dan Tam Je Gebe Baridu Jobra Jeba Tam Jege Ze Jebe Mahananga Dan Nyambe Senjen Tam Je Dewa Dan Den Tungyo Dan De Nudu Lana Me Paya Dambara Zobe Janju Rimpo Je Dobra Ja Dhala Nama Jebe Da Nobar Jebe Ge Tarba Dan Tam Je Kimbe Baridu Jobra Jeba Tam Jege Ze Jebe Manang Kadang Nyambe Senjen Tam Je Dewa Dan Den Dungao Dan De Nudu Lana Me Bayang Dambara Zobe Janju Rimpo Je Dobra ja dhala dhamma jebe da nobar jebe ge tarba dhan tam je kembe bardu jobra jeba tam je ge se jebe manang kadang nyampe senjen tam je dewa dhan de dunga dan de ne du lana me pa yang tam pra zobe chanju rinpo je Dobra jan ten chen du sama ge ge bardu longa yesum ge wa la go ma she bardu longa yesum ge wa la go du de ding ne sung de ne ma san da sam ge bardu longa yesum ge wa la go Sanche Jodan Soki Jonam La Janju Bardu Dani Gyabzu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonangi Dola Penche Sanje Dobro Shu Sanje Jodan Soki Jonam La Janju Bardu Dani Gyabzu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonangi Dola Penche Sanje Dobro Shu Sangye Jodan Soge Jonam La Janju Pardu Dane Gyamsu Je Dage Jinsu Gimbe Sonam Ge Dola Penje Sangye Rubra Shu Manang Kadang Nyambe Senjen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewe Genda Tempara Gyurji Tunya Dang Dunya Gi Gyudan Dewa Gyurji Dunya Mepe Dewa Dang Me Dewa Gyurji Nering chada nidang trewe dang nyong la nebra gyurji ma nang ka dang nyang pe sen chen tam che dewa dang dewe gyun dang dambra gyurji dung nyang dang dung nyang ji gyur dang dewa gyurji dung nyang me pe dewa dang me dewa gyurji nering chada nidang trewe dang nyong la nebra gyurji Anang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tamje Dewa Dang Dewe Gyundan Dembra Gyurji Dunya Dang Dunya Ji Gyudan Dewa Gyurji Dunya Mepe Dewa Dang Me Dewa Gyurji Nering Chadang Nidang Dewe Danyon La Dembra Gyurji I respectfully pay homage with fierce and longing faith of the three types to you, the glorious Guru, Lord of the four Kayas. With my body, speech, and mind I make offerings of all these established things, outer, inner, and other, the one who offers that which is offered, and the act of offering are indivisible in essence. This being so, I make this offering of the great single taste, free from elaborations. Grant me the accomplishment of effortlessness. I lay bare the impairments and breakings of the vows of the three vehicles and rejoice in your liberating deeds. Please turn the wheel of Dharma in accordance with the capacities of those to be trained, and remain here for as long as samsara has not been emptied. I dedicate the merit accumulated in the 3 times to the welfare of wandering beings. Chugu drupa druje chanchen la so va dem so gyagar dubjen gijil sanga la so va dem so dili shira zambo la so va dem so naro yeshe ngudrub la so va dem so Dagyu lo da marpa la so wa dem so mi la shepa dorje la so wa dem so dampo da o shunu la so wa dem so dum du kampa mi sum la so wa dem so Adu durje gyabo la so wa dem so jesun durje pyada la so wa dem so kyam chu jinten sumgön la so wa dem so chu je rana shiri la so wa dem so Kenjen su trim dorje la so wa dem so onjen so nam japa la so wa dem so chenga dapa june la so wa dem so chung o dorje dapa la so wa dem so toka rinchen senge la so wa dem so samche dapa so nam la so wa dem so Chuni dorje rinchen la so wa dem so chuku dorje gyabo la so wa dem so Nirni chuki gyabo la so wa dem so shenyen dundrup gyabo la so wa dem so Rinchen pyagi gyalsen la so wa dem so chugya rinchen pyazang la so wa dem so Ringsin chuki gyan so la so wa dem so Yawang kunga rinchen la so wa dem so Jese rinchen punso la so wa dem so rinchen nampar gyawa la so wa dem so Benchen Belgi Gyalsen la so wa dem so Jole nampar gyawa la so wa dem so Sume Chogya Punso la so wa dem so Dribchen Chashi Punso la so wa dem so Jesen Konjo Rinchen la so wa dem so Riksin Choki Dragba la so wa dem so Konjo Dinle Namgya la so wa dem so Konjo Dinle Zampo la so wa dem so Chenle Dondru Jogya la so wa dem so Konjo Denzin Jodru la so wa dem so Denzin Jogi Nima la so wa dem so Kyamda Beme Gyatsen la so wa dem so Jamyan Jogi Gyatsen la so wa dem so Ruwan Jogi Gyatsen la so wa dem so Rinchen tempe zegin la so wa dem so gyawang tu jen ima la so wa dem so ringsen nu den du je la so wa dem so jesen chogi lo dro la so wa dem so gyao cho shi be lo dro la so wa dem so jesen dharma kara la so wa dem so Tresab Tenzin Tugden La Sowa Demso Dogon Dagpo Kagyu La Sowa Demso Dinchen Sawe Lama La Sowa Demso. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the rarity of the freedoms and endowments. I still squander away my life. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on impermanence and death. I still fixate on composite phenomena as permanent. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the unmistaken nature of cause and effect. I still pervert what to adopt and what to abandon. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the sufferings of cyclic existence. I still take the way to the lower realms. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I safeguard the vows of individual liberation. I still lack renunciation and the determination to be free. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on all wandering beings as my parents. I still have bias attachment to friends and aversion for enemies. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate loving kindness and compassion. I still hold on to envy and enmity. Look upon me far with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate aspiration and action, bodhicitta. I still focus only on my own welfare. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my body as the deity's exalted form. I still cling to ordinary perception. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I have counted the mantras to be recited. I still waste away my life force. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate the samadhi of moon in the water. I still solidify things as real and substantial. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I conclude by dissolving in the subsequent stage. I still purify and confess superficially. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my own mind as free from elaborations. I still have conceptual attitudes. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate not grasping at whatever arises. I still affix an artificial watchfulness. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate resting freely in the natural state. I still amplify artificialities, look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on unity beyond conceptions. I still get carried away by the masses of likes and dislikes, look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, I supplicate you, who are my refuge and protector in this and all other lives. Physician who removes the chronic diseases of samsara. Hero who vanquishes the enemies that are afflictive emotions. Sun which dispels the darkness of ignorance. Moon that protects from the heat of suffering. Jewel which fulfills all our needs and desires, you Guru who are all inclusive and all sufficient, I supplicate you from the depths of my heart. With compassion, swiftly heed me, effortlessly bestow your blessings. Grant me now and on this seat the naturally accomplished feast of the two benefits. I am endowed with both merit and devotion. Do not leave my hopes unfulfilled. Don't cast away my devotion in vain. Don't let my supplications vanish unanswered. Don't be indifferent with your compassion, refuge and protector in this life, in the intermediate state and beyond, whatever occurs, joy or sorrow, good or bad. Only you are my hope. Look upon me with eyes of compassion. You alone are my hope. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara, and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers, and may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstruct us, who harm those who create obstacles, Maras who mislead, and their Mara retinues have happiness. Be separated from suffering and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment with my mind stream, moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta. May I become a virtuous spiritual friend with good qualities limitless as space. May I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. page 66 of the book. If you have the ebook, maybe then the page would be different, probably. Now we are in this section called the Embodiment of Intention. So yesterday, I gave a preview of like what this is about. So this, as I said yesterday, it's like a very subtle but important point for us to understand. That when we talk about karmic causality, when we talk about even like all appearances are one's own mind, all appearances are one's own mind, such a statement often seen in the Mahamudra material or Dzogchen, and then beyond the Tibetan tradition, in the Zen tradition. But you even see, I would say, as basic as in the Dhammapada, it already says that, using different words to express that, which is the mind is that which decides everything. From the sufferings of samsara to the liberation of nirvana, all those are determined by mind, by our thoughts. So often when that topic is discussed, people think that it is not connected to karmic, the principle of karmic causality. People just think, whenever they hear karma or karmic causality, and most people are just stuck on that level, which sounds like rewards and punishment. And because we associate Buddhism with religion, then we're used to religion saying, if you behave this way, you'll be rewarded. If you behave in this way, you'll be punished. And so even though some of us have been years, practicing Dharma, learning Dharma, still somewhere hidden back there is still this thought, this attitude. And so then we get very, not very necessarily, but we get kind of, what's the word? Sometimes, we feel like, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. When like unpleasant things happen to us, when difficult things happen to us, we'll say, oh, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. Even this, of course, emotionally is understandable to feel that way. But even this response of unfair has a certain assumption out there that there is some God or power that is, created all of this. And part of the deal of all of this is the issue of fairness. Fair or not fair. Fair or not fair, in the context of training the mind. So I'm not talking, again, footnote, I'm not talking about, on the social, political level. I think that's different. We should not bring them together too closely. So like these days, we have more understanding about systemic injustice, privilege, and so on and so forth. Yes, one could think through that very carefully and think how the teachings on karmic causality can illuminate all that, but then don't, for now, just leave that aside and understand that this teaching about that happiness and suffering, if we, as long as we still think in terms of fair or not fair, and therefore implying that there's some benevolent plan by some benevolent, all-powerful being to create a system that is fair, as in good people will be rewarded, bad people will be punished. Right? As long as we have that still, lingering around back there, the consequence is we lose out in the opportunity to turn things around, even when whatever has turned up is conventionally considered unpleasant, suffering undesirable. We lose out. We get distracted by fair or unfair and not look at how even in this moment of unhappiness, I can still change, which is what the principle of karmic causality is talking about. There is a predisposition for things to unfold a certain way, but this predisposition can be redisposed, so to say, even now in this moment. So as karma ripen from past life, we can either make it better or we can even make it worse. And so many times, it's a positive karma that is ripening, and it ripens, and then we turn the enjoyment of the fruits of positive karma into causes of future suffering. So all of this, has to do with mind, you see. So it's not like, karmic causality is like beginner's topic. Just a way to get people to behave. This is what religions like to do. And then profound, wisdom teachings over here. These are one and the same point. All appearances are one's own mind. Now, more specifically, how are these minds, these moments of mind, how are these moments of intentions embodied? How do they turn up? This next section here. When those states of mind have become established in physical form, then this is what we call the embodiment of intentions. So intentions, the embodiment of intentions. And the embodiments, you can also say, of thoughts. Thoughts are, in this way, you could say they are intentions. So if your intentions are stained by the three afflictions, then the form that appears, the embodiment that arises, is necessarily tainted. Not completely rotten, but tainted. And if the thoughts or the intention is not tainted by the afflictions, then the form, the appearance that arises, is without faults. So this has two aspects. The embodiment of intention from moment to moment is the accomplishment of the 5 excellent conditions and so forth in this lifetime. The embodiment of intention embodied transference is the skillful method for assuming a perfect body by arousing a positive state of mind at the time of death. So here, Kyoba emphasizes, as for this embodiment of intention, you can think of it as having an immediate context and a longer term context. The immediate context is from moment to moment. It's the embodiment of intentions. And now temporarily put aside these 5 excellent conditions, the accomplishment of the 5 excellent conditions. Just know that at this point, the 2 types of embodiment of intention, one is the moment to moment while still with this body in this body. Then the next one has to do with when this body no longer has the power to support this mind, and they go their separate ways. Where the mind goes, the mind will re-embody. So what we would refer to as death and rebirth. So both death and rebirth is no, from one perspective, no bigger deal than the momentary birth and death that we're experiencing now. Except that the momentary birth that we're experiencing now, from moment to moment, this body and this mind is together. Then in that moment of birth, of death and rebirth that occurs when this body and mind separate, that's the second kind of embodiment of intention. Right? These are the two kinds. Does that make sense? So first that, Then the second part to this division into two, Kyopa seems to be emphasizing the positive aspects of understanding that what is this body? What is this reality? Nothing but the appearance, the embodiment of moment of intentions. Then, in the context of moment to moment right now, we can transform this into what is known as the 5 excellent conditions, which is a reference to, the footnote tells us, which is the excellent teacher with an excellent retinue of students at the excellent place, with the excellent teaching at the excellent time. The footnote tells us that the translator is not very clear if it is talking about this or if it is talking about the 5 sense pleasures. Either way, it's saying, right? I like the first interpretation, the 5 excellent conditions, which is to say, in this, if you understand this point of the embodiment of intention, if you understand this point, then you ask yourself, what kind of embodiment do I want? What kind of reality do I want? What do I want to turn up right now? The best way to turn up is to turn up, right? As these 5 excellences. The excellent teacher, which is the Buddha. The excellent disciples, which is all of us, Buddhas and as bodhisattvas, arhats, and the Buddha is giving the excellent teaching at the excellent place in the excellent time. So these 5 excellences is basically saying, right now, right here. Don't go looking somewhere else, someplace else, someone else, sometime else. The opposite of the 5 excellences, right, is maybe somebody else. 2 aspects of that somebody else, and maybe I could be somebody else too. Excellent teacher, excellent retinue. Excellent teaching, maybe it could be something else. Maybe it could be something else, someplace else, sometime else. Right? The opposite of the 5 excellences. Maybe it could be someone else, both in terms of me and whoever I'm interacting with. Whether I'm in the role of the disciple or I'm in the role of the teacher. Well, or if workplace, whether I'm in the role of the boss or I'm in the role of the employee. If in the case of the house, whether I'm the role of the parent or I'm the role of the child, right? The opposite of seeing this as the 5 excellences is like, if only, I was a different teacher, or if only I was a different student, someone else. 2 aspects of that. Excellent place. Oh, if only it could be somewhere else, right? Back to my Tuscany and wherever, your beach, your island, your mountains, Then teaching, oh, if only it could be something else going on instead of this. Time, or if only it could be sometime else. So typically we go through the day wanting something else of this five. So that's what we're embodying. We're embodying less than perfect teacher, retinue, place, teaching, time. So teacher, retinue, place, teaching, time is using the example of Buddha Shakyamuni or the Buddhas. Again, if you apply this, then you are teacher, as in you are at the center. And then you're like, oh, if only it's others. And that's when we complain about, oh, why am I surrounded by these idiots? Or why am I with this boring people here? That's not seeing the five excellences of the Sambhogakaya can be accomplished now. And then the one related to when this body and mind separate, where it goes, well, normally for us, not understanding again the embodiment of intentions, and therefore not caring about our intentions, our mind, our thoughts, right? Then we wander on to samsaric existence. Instead, here Kyopa says it can be assuming a perfect body by arousing a positive state of mind at the time of death. Because the last moment, the last thought of this life conditions the first moment of next life. So if the last moment of this life is clouded by anger, then it's not rewards and punishment. It's simply similar things are attracted to each other. So if the mind is clouded by anger, it goes looking for angry places, angry people. If the mind is familiar with jealousy, it goes looking for jealous states. Conversely, if the mind in that last moment is comfortable, familiar, at ease, in the state of generosity, then it goes looking for an embodiment of generosity, or an embodiment of love, or an embodiment of compassion, or an embodiment of all of that. As for the process by which intention becomes embodied, how? We have already said that the embodiment of mind or intention, combined with desire, arises as the appearances of the hungry ghost realm. The intention of desire works like a wax model, a mold. Death is like melting the wax out, and the hungry ghost that arises as the embodiment of that intention, that thought, that state of mind, is like the subsequent cast that emerges exactly according to the wax model. So this is called the, the lost wax method. And so what you do is, as far as my understanding, what you do is you have an image or a statue like this, which you make out of wax. So it's easy to shape and all the details. You make a wax method of this. Then you put clay all over the wax. And then when the clay hardens, right? So then the inside of the clay would have all the designs of this, but in a reverse way. And so then now you have maybe a block of clay with wax in there, but the wax is the shape, the exact shape of, let's say this is a statue that you want. You turn it upside down, then molten hot iron melted. you pour in here, this wax all flows out, then that takes the shape. So this is the example given. So here then, the thought. So in the translation here, intention. It's intention, state of mind, thoughts, feelings. So the intention of desire works like a wax model. So it's like that statue. Death is like melting the wax out, and then rebirth, as hungry goes, is the statue that comes out. So this is how your mind. This is how your own mind is samsara, and your own mind is nirvana, and so forth, following the same principle. Its artistic skill excels that of Vishwakarma. Vishwakarma is the architect, the builder of this physical world. In Buddhism, we don't have an all-powerful God, but doesn't mean there isn't the notion of there is a builder. There's an architect. And so it's called Vishwakarma. Even individual hairs and individual pores of the body manifest in accordance with the mind states. Not even Vishwakarma would be capable of such artistic skill. Power of the mind. It is through the embodiments of thoughts from moment to moment and embodied transference that faults can be abandoned and qualities can be accomplished. See here, right? Faults abandoned and qualities accomplished. Normally we think of that as karma talk. But in its most basic level, it's about how thoughts are embodied from moment to moment, and thoughts are embodied in the next, the transition between this to the next life. And so this is the teaching, this is the advice on how to be skilled in the way for assuming a perfect body for oneself and others, of benefiting others, which originates from the all-knowing awakened one himself. This is what, fundamentally, this is what the awakened one, this is what the Buddha taught. If we don't really understand this fully and all its subtle points, if we don't understand that whatever practice that we do, it's to get this, to understand this thoroughly, completely, without error, then all these practices that we do, all these virtues that we try to cultivate, all these different meditations that we engage in, all these different methods that we employ, right? That's like sending out an army, very powerful army, but no idea, who the enemy is. We get so excited by, this branch of the army can do that branch of the army can do that branch of the military can do that, this branch has this, this powerful weapon, that has that, and then we don't understand. What is the target of all of this? Not only that, even worse, sometimes we amass this military force, we send it to attack our own people. To destroy happiness through Dharma practice. Gampopa says again and again, I repeat this, Gampopa says, even something as precious as the Dharma, if you don't know how to practice it, becomes a cause for the lower realms. And this statement, again, sometimes misinterpreted as a way to, intimidate people, control students. Oh, you better practice Dharma properly, otherwise you'll go to the lower realms. Hint, hint, listen to my words. Don't do what I say. Go to the lower realms. Not very skillful speech, actually. So please, if you encounter any teachers who say things like that to you, I'm not saying that immediately they are to be held as up to no good, but be careful whether a teacher or a community talks like this. Yeah? Footnote. So we need to really understand this embodiment of thoughts. I think intention, I don't know. I don't like that translation, embodiment of intention. I mean, it's there, intention, but not so strongly like, only about intention. It's basically about thoughts, the state of the mind that it is in. And that state of mind is embodied. So this teaching on being skilled in the method for assuming a perfect body for oneself and others originated from what's first taught by the all-knowing Buddha. You will understand it through devotion to the Lama. Please keep this in mind. So, 4 teachings now. The 5th teaching, is going to go more into this one's own mind. Appearances are one's own mind. So that's a really important teaching. Any questions or comments?
We hear that karmic actions are actions with intention.
Say that again.
We hear that our actions are karmic because of volition or intention.
Yes.
Is that? Do you think that's
part of what's here? Yes.
Yeah. That this term embodiment of intention is used?
Yeah, no, it's part of it. I'm not saying it's not. Yeah, but it's not limited to just intention the way we think of intention. So more generally, thoughts. Your thoughts are embodied. Your thoughts is what gives rise to your perception of reality.
Is the our thoughts part of the 12 links, right? That's part of the 12 links of interdependent origination.
Sure.
And the training of our mind to unhook from the cyclic of samsara is part of this whole thing, is getting it more unattached and seeing the illusory nature of it all.
Yes. But the point here is about, the point here is about what do you want? What do you want? You want to wallow in samsara? Or do you want to be a Buddha benefiting beings? Both scenarios is based on embodiment of your thoughts. So it's not just, I would argue, not just saying that you need to not become attached, but that understanding this magical illusion, then you can manifest accordingly. Not understanding this magical illusion, we manifest and we fight false demons and go after false gods, so to say, in the Machi Labdron tradition of Chu, this division of happiness and suffering into demons and gods. So this particular teaching, of course, is talking about, as you know, you all have pointed out, yes, all those things for sure. But the central point here, right? The central point here is to relate even more carefully, more closely, these high teachings called like nature of mind to cause and effect. They are completely the same point. That's the crucial point we have to see. Not like a dogmatic point to believe in. Okay, mind you, I'm using very strong, even my tone and all of that, but that's not so to force you to believe. It's not dogma, but rather that you have to keep developing the ability to see, like these teachings about all appearances are your own mind, samsara is your own mind, happiness and suffering is in your own mind. It's completely cannot be separated from karmic causality, that principle. One observation here, overall, right? You will have, like this whole section ends with, and through devotion to the Lama, you will come to understand this. So there's overall, right? In Kagyupa, early Kagyupa, there's emphasis on relying, trusting, having devotion in the Lama, in the Guru. But it is not, a uncomplicated issue at all. Even here later, right? I was looking for it, but I can't find it. Right? Even here, there's one particular teaching in here where I don't know, did we cover that yet? Where Kyoba Rinpoche says, hey, that doesn't mean, if your guru tells you to do negative things, you're like, oh, yes, you're right, I will do it. He even says, it's deluded, if you clearly see that they're doing something negative, and then you try to imagine that, oh no, they're actually doing something else, which is sometimes how we hear, them talking about within the Vajrayana family. Sometimes you hear people say things like this, like, oh, you have to perceive everything the guru do as pure. Yes, that teaching with those words are there. Perceive everything that your guru do as pure. But here Kyopa clearly says, but that doesn't translate to the way we normally think. So this is also, really important. For good reason, this relying on a guru emphasis is problematic in the days and in these situations where a lot of abuse and being or even lighter than abuse, what we call abuse, is being taken advantage of. A lot of these things happen, but to then throw out this whole method of relying on the guru is it's unfortunate, Oh, good. Nathan found that the correct way. Yeah, I was looking for that. Yeah. The correct way to rely on the Lama. So we've done that. Yeah, page 42. So don't forget that, Then going back on page 40, everything depends on intention. So if you look at that carefully, right, it's talking about thoughts, your thoughts. And of course, underlying your thoughts is what we call intentions. And specifically, it's those intentions that are driven by the three afflictions, the three poisons. Those afflictions. Becoming free from those afflictions, then these intentions become pure. Then the thoughts that arise are naturally free from those stains. And then they would embody mandalas of Buddhas and the Pure Lands. And so there's a saying in the Pure Land tradition in East Asia, when the mind is pure, the land is pure. Then Shantideva, right, says, where does this molten lava ground come from? Where do the demons of the hell realm come from? Nowhere but the mind. Conjured by the mind, unfolding in the mind, experienced by the mind, perpetuated by the mind, and to be ended by the mind. Yeah, so page 42, that section, please, from time to time, read that again and again, And later on, in another place, Kyoba Rinpoche would talk about how you have to rely on a good Lama. And you cannot be argumentative with the Lama. So another context, he teaches us the correct way to relate to the Lama, but you cannot read these two independent of each other. Both parts have to be there. And I think for many of us, frankly, I don't know, I feel this way. For many of us, I think maybe I'm committing the danger of using like psychology or even that pop psychology. I think personally, I feel maybe that I think if we have if our karma is meaning like because of our own causes and conditions, if we have like a good kind of childhood relationship with our parents, then generally speaking, I think when we do form a connection with a teacher, it's a lot smoother. Because maybe from young we've already learned, where the healthy boundaries are, how a parent needs to be a parent and not try too hard to be a friend. And the parent is also not tyrannical, genuinely love and care, trying their best, I think there's correlation there. Which is not to say, oh, if you don't have that, well, sorry, you're out of luck. I guess all I'm saying is like I'm grateful, for my overall uncomplicated, Not that there weren't like happy, unhappy times growing up. It's just like anybody else, Things don't always like play out in the, happy families. I'm not suggesting that my experience is just like that, but overall, I think it has been uncomplicated in that way. And then, fortunately, then, relation to my gurus also is not being filled with complications. Which is to say, then, those of you who are not yet having children or just having children, try to be good. Try to be good to them. Chanchu Semcho Rinpoche Ma Ge Panan Ge Gyurche Ge Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gone Gong Du El Wer Shun. Ta ta. Bye bye.